I don't know. Let's see. Okay. I think you can see me. I'm not sure. Is anyone there? Yeah, okay. Looks like it. Hi, Brianna. Let's see if I can see who's here. Anna. Hey. Miss Messy. So I want to say thank you to everybody for being here. This is my first talk. I was signed up for the first 2 weeks, and then I had a random trip to Costa Rica, and then I wasn't feeling well last week. And so here I am on the third week with my first talk. And before I start, I have my niece and nephew here, and they just wanted to say hi to everybody. And I told them that they could have a second to say hi. But anyway, I was thinking, since this is my first week, hi, Emily, I will just give a little bit of an introduction to myself or to you about me, and then tell you a little bit about my story as far as health goes. And then I can really talk about anything that you want. So if you think of any topics that you want to hear, you can put them in the little chat. And so my 4 topics that I chose to talk about at the beginning of this were gardening, you are the future of veganism, there are no ordinary moments, and how to be comfortable as a vegan out in the wide world of non-vegans. So if you want to hear about any of those, you can let me know. Or if you have another topic that you'd like to hear about, I'm open to anything. I'm an open book, so ask whatever questions you'd like. So a little bit about myself. I live in Louisiana. I'm 28 years old. I'll be 29 in December, which is like, wow, almost 30. I feel like I'm still a kid. And I started getting into health and fitness in high school. I was always really active and into sports my entire childhood. And then I got into health and fitness, wanting to lose weight in high school. And I became vegetarian kind of on a whim because my aunt and my friends said that they were going to be vegetarian. I don't think either of them were vegetarian for any amount of time, but I became vegetarian and stuck with it. In college, I became vegan, but still eating pretty unhealthy and like binging on and off the whole time. And then when I graduated college, I got into raw food. I did high-fat raw for a while, which didn't work. And then I learned about 80-10-10 at the end of 2009, almost exactly 7 years ago. And I tried for so many years to succeed doing 80-10-10. And I just kind of yo-yoed back and forth to high-fat vegan, and then eventually to low-fat vegan, and then less and less and less going back to cooked food. And then finally, the last couple years have mainly stuck to raw. And the whole time throughout that, I dealt with binge eating and emotional stuff and just struggling and thinking that I would never succeed and be fully healthy and never stop emotional eating. So if you have any questions about that, it's something that I've dealt with like forever. And I thought that I would never, ever, ever get over it. And I thought that there was no point in trying, but I finally have. So if you have any questions about that, I'd love to share about that. I know what it's like to be down in the depths of that. So if you have questions about that, I'd love to answer them. So right now, I eat 80-10-10 diet. My passion in life is just having new experiences, connecting with amazing people, traveling, seeing the world. And meeting really awesome people, being in beautiful places. I love to garden. I love being active. I just chefed the 80-10-10 retreats in Cedro Woolley with Doug Graham, and I got into weightlifting there and like 1 rep max kind of thing. And so I've been having fun doing that. And yeah, I just like to have fun. And here I am. So let's see what you have to say. Gardening, Ingrid says, Brianna says gardening and being vegan in a non-vegan world. I live in southern Louisiana. Sarah Guidry, are you from Louisiana? Because I know a whole bunch of Guidrys. Typical day for you. So I have a lot of what I eat in a day videos. In fact, I just made one yesterday and posted it today, so you can see exactly what I eat there. But usually I have a fruit monomeal for breakfast, a fruit monomeal for lunch, maybe another fruit monomeal somewhere in there. And then for dinner, I might just have more fruits with some greens, or I might make a salad. Like, actually, I can show you. I have a salad made so that I don't have to make it when I'm done. It's mashed up avocado, mango, tomato with some thinly sliced lettuce in there. Pretty simple. Like right now I'm eating tons and tons and tons of mangoes. I can't get enough. I have a ton of papayas here, but for some reason I just want to keep eating mangoes. So that's what I've been doing. Let's see. So some of you said gardening, so I'll talk a little bit about gardening. I'm not going to go in. It's kind of hard to go into exactly how to garden just in a video like this, but I'll talk about it a little bit, and then I'll go into maybe how you can start your own garden if you've never gardened before. So in my mind, eating a fruit and veggie diet is amazing. Eating an organic fruit and veggie diet is amazing, more amazing. Eating a local organic fruit and veggie diet is even better. And then eating your own fresh picked, right out of your yard, organic food and eating it right after it's picked is like, you can get better than that wild, fresh picked, local organic food. But gardening is really close to it. And you can garden in any space. You can grow. I have one of my clients grows stuff on her kitchen counter. She replants her green onions and her celery and her lettuce just in little pots on her kitchen counter by a window. And so it can be that simple. Of course, it's nice if you have a garden plot, but if that's all you've got, you know, you can still do something with it. I personally make raised beds out of cedar fence posts. They're not fence boards. They're not treated because they resist weathering and rot really well naturally. And so I just make a little square with that, and I fill it with 1/3 compost, 1/3 peat moss, and 1/3 vermiculite. And then to that, you can add all kind of goodies. You can add worm castings. You can add kelp meal. You can add mushroom stuff. You can add all kind of different things. But basically, you can do that. You can do like a 3x3 square. You can grow greens in there. You can grow all kind of stuff. You can grow tomatoes. You can grow peppers. But what I suggest that you start with if you want to start gardening is herbs. So basil is really easy to grow. You can grow cilantro, you can grow oregano, you can grow thyme. And if you know someone, for example, with oregano, you can just go take a cutting and then bury part of the stem and it'll grow. It's really, really easy to grow. And you can do that in little pots in your windowsill. Whenever I lived in the dorm in college, I had a little herb garden in my windowsill. So it can be that easy. Let's see. Amanda says, I totally struggle with food cravings, binge eating, and trying to be vegan, raw vegan, and I'm off and on all the time. I'm progressing slowly, but would appreciate your advice on this. First thing, I know exactly how you feel. And honestly, for me, that struggle was one of the hardest things that I've ever dealt with in my life. And my best advice to you is to stay motivated. As soon as you fall off, get right back on. Let go of the guilt trip that we all give ourselves when we mess up. It doesn't help. It only hurts. And so get back on track. Let go of the guilt trip. Stay motivated. Find a buddy. Talk to people that are inspiring. Do things you love to do that you want to feel good for. And just keep trying. We've set up these patterns for ourselves that affect us negatively throughout our entire life. And it takes a lot of time to undo those things. And so, for example, I tried for probably 5 years before I really felt like I got a handle on this diet. And at some points I thought that I was not going to succeed. And so I would give up, but then I would not feel good. And so it's like, well, I have no choice but to at least try again, because if I try again and I succeed for a week, at least I'll feel better for a week. And eventually I would do well for longer and longer periods of time. And every time I would go back, I would feel horrible. And at some point I couldn't feel bad and tired and lethargic and depressed anymore. I couldn't do it. I couldn't carry on with all the things I needed to carry on with throughout my life. And I just had to get serious with myself, and I had to do it. And I had felt that way before, but there was something different about this one time. And I still fell back times after that, but I was not as emotionally connected to it. I was like, okay, I screwed up, but I'm back on track. And it's different for everybody. I think we all just have to find that drive within us to keep going. And if you continue to try, you'll just get better and better at it. And eventually it is possible to succeed. I'm living proof. I'm still growing and learning and getting healthier. But I've finally gotten over that emotional binge thing that I struggled with for so long. So just keep trying and do what you know is healthy, and treat yourself with love. One thing that I absolutely love and has been so helpful to me in dealing with all of that is to treat myself like I would treat someone like I would treat a loved one, like a family or a friend. And whenever I would screw up in the past, I would be so harsh on myself. But if it was a family member or a friend who was going through that, I wouldn't talk to them like I talk to myself. So I began to switch the way that I talk to myself. I began to talk to myself more lovingly and with more compassion. And that really changed a lot. Okay. Jonas Sunshine wants to know, do you mean 26 reps of triple body weight like Mike Velocity? I'm not there yet. I just did, the most I've deadlifted is 135, but I deadlifted yesterday and I did 3 reps like that. So pretty easily. So I think I'm ready. And I weigh like 120. So I think I'm ready to move on to a higher weight, but I'm not up to triple body weight quite yet. Lockport, Louisiana, repping the Southern fruities. We'll have to get together, Sarah, definitely. Let's see. Let's see if there's any questions that oh wait, there may be questions down here. No. Okay. Do y'all have any more questions? Oh, yeah, I did miss one. Let's see. Being vegan in a non-vegan world. So that is something in Louisiana. I know just a few other vegans, and most of them I've just met recently, and I've been vegan since 2009, 2010. So, yeah, there are not a lot of vegans here. And so I've had to deal with that a lot. But my main thing about dealing with anything that's different about myself, and there's a lot of things that are different about me from the people that I'm around all the time, it's just to get comfortable with it myself. And when I'm comfortable with it, it makes everybody else more comfortable. And when I don't make a big deal about it, other people don't make a big deal about it. So there's that, getting comfortable with it, know your facts, be able to answer questions if people have honest questions. And so there's that. And then the other thing that I use to deal with this is to match people's tone or their attitude when they approach me about it. So if someone is joking with me about it, then I joke back. If someone has a serious question, then I'll give them a serious answer. I'm always willing to answer people's questions. The only time I don't do that is when someone is being rude to me. I'm not rude back. Sometimes I'll just like shut it down and say whatever I need to say to end the conversation. But I'm never rude back to them, because that's not going to leave a good taste in their mouth. And we want people to like vegans and to want to be like vegans so that we can get more people to be vegans. So one thing I like to say if I don't feel like talking about something, I say, I've tried this and I've never felt better in my life, and it's really working for me. I have more energy. I don't have to take a nap in the afternoon. My digestion is better, and it just really works. So I'm going to keep trying it and see what happens. And people can't really say, you can say, well, I've done my blood work and I've done my research and everything is fine. If they say, well, you're going to get deficient in whatever, and just kind of politely give them a comment that they can't argue with. And you can also just say, I don't really feel like talking about it. And then it's also really important to me, not to everyone, but to me, to connect with people on things other than veganism. I personally don't want to just have vegan friends. I don't want to have a group of friends where all we talk about is veganism, although I do have some friends like that, and I love them, and I love talking about veganism with them, but I don't want veganism to be my hobby. It's just the way that I eat and the way that I choose to live my life. And I want everybody to be vegan, but I also have so many other interests, and I also love so many other people that aren't vegan and that are amazing people. And so I connect, like my niece, Trinity. And so I like to connect with them on other things. I have running buddies, and I have, people that I do all kind of stuff with that aren't vegan. And I just act like what I'm doing is normal, and I share my fruit with them. And it's not a big deal if you don't make it a big deal. Advice on making vegan friends. And I do want to say it is nice to have vegan friends, to have people that understand you. And I have vegan friends, and I enjoy my vegan friends. But I also like to have friends, or I don't limit myself just to vegan people. And I never don't make friends with someone because they're not vegan. Advice on making vegan friends. Instagram is amazing. Facebook is amazing. Meetups are amazing. If you don't find any vegan groups in your area, you can create one and, spread it around on Facebook and see who's interested. And today, sure, in really small towns, there may not be anyone else, but if you live in a sizable town, it's almost guaranteed that there's another vegan around. You just have to find them. So get on social media. I've met some of my really amazing friends through Instagram and Facebook, and now we're like, awesome buddies. And
everybody's your friend once you meet them.
My niece said, everybody's your friend once you meet them. I like to make friends. I really like people. But so get online. It's the best resource that we have for veganism. If you can't find anyone online, go to health food stores in your area and post something up on the bulletin boards there about a vegan potluck or vegan wanting to make a vegan group, and hopefully someone will answer. If there are no vegans, you can just be the shining light and example to everyone around you, and hopefully someone else will decide to be vegan.
We've been vegan for 1 week, but we stopped a little.
What do I do for work/income? Well, I do several different things. I teach yoga, and the main classes that I teach are at an addiction treatment center. And I teach 4 classes a week there. They pay me very well. And in addition to that, I do some private classes. And then, oh Lord,
Our dogs
the
in here.
massive dogs in here. So in addition to that, I teach some private classes sometimes, and I also babysit, and I make a little bit of money from YouTube, and I make a little bit of money from selling my recipe books. If you want to check them out, you can see my website, erinvolentine.com.
Good. You should try them.
And I do a little bit of coaching. And so, yeah, that's basically it. I've chosen to not have a 9-to-5 job. I could probably make more money doing that, but at what I'm doing right now, I make enough money to support myself and to travel. Like I was just gone out of town for a month and a half, chefing those retreats and going to Costa Rica. And I have enough money to do that. And I'm saving up money to go to Thailand for 9 weeks. And so with my babysitting and stuff, I can work as much or as little as I want, which I really like. And my goal in life is to play as much as possible and work as little as possible. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. Let's see, Sarah says, and that question was from Ingrid. Thank you, Ingrid. My girlfriend recently made a YouTube channel and she would love to collaborate with you sometime. Cool, tell her to hit me up. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all over the place.
I think I know one of her Instagrams, Southern.
Yeah, my Instagram is Southern Fruity if you want to check that out. And actually, I don't know how far Lockport is. We're having a little vegan get-together in Lafayette on Sunday, I think. I don't know how far you are from Lafayette. I don't know exactly where Lockport is. I know of it, but I don't know exactly where it is. So if you want to come, you're definitely invited, Sarah.
Can I be invited?
Yeah. Yeah, so let's see if we have any more questions that I didn't get. If you have any other questions, I have something else to talk about too. If you don't have any questions, I can talk all day. Like I watch my YouTube videos sometimes, and I'm like, Erin, it's not even breakfast, and you've been talking for like 5 minutes. Let's see. Brianna says, my roommate gets mad at me for having a lot of fruit because it takes up too much room on the counter, but I'm a minimalist and literally have nothing else laying around the house outside of my room other than my fruit. She has stuff everywhere, including lots of kitchen stuff, and I never say anything. I just feel like she's being rude. What would you say if she addresses me again? She has brought it up multiple times, and I'm honestly so baffled that I don't know what to say. My philosophy on all human interaction is to be nice, not overly nice, but to never be rude or angry, never to act in anger, basically. So, and that's been a job for me because in the past, I get kind of aggravated easily and didn't have problems telling people off. But so what I would do personally is just say, I'm really passionate about this lifestyle. I want to keep eating this much fruit. Do you have any suggestions of what we could do to make it, better for you? See if she has any ideas. I mean, even if she doesn't have any ideas, I feel like you asking her what would be best for her shows that you, you're being considerate of her needs and you desire to, help meet those needs and help find a ground that is good for both of y'all. So I would ask her, maybe think of something. I don't know where you keep your fruit, but I have like a big tall shelf that I keep my fruit on. So it takes up a small space on the floor, but it goes upward rather than just having it spread out all over the counter. So maybe you could think about getting some kind of shelving unit. You can get them really cheaply. You can get a used one. You could go to an old junk store and get a shelving unit. You can get fruit baskets. You can do all kind of different things. You can hang your bananas on hooks or on a string that you hang up on the ceiling. Maybe just kind of brainstorm with her and see what works for both of y'all.
That long comment just popped up.
Cool, Sarah. So I know 2 hours might be kind of far, but if you want to come, just hit me up later and I'll give you the details about our little potluck.
I'll be there too.
Am I going to Woodstock Fruit Fest? I don't know. I've gone to 3. I went to 2012, 13, and 14, and I absolutely loved it. It was the best time of my life. I didn't go to 2015 because I decided to go to the Hawaii Fruit Fest. I was signed up for this year, 2016, but then we found really cheap tickets to Thailand and bought those, and so I maybe could have gone, but I instead decided to save my money for Thailand, but then I ended up going to Costa Rica. So yeah, I could have gone, but I just decided to play it safe and take that money out of Woodstock and put it towards Thailand. But will I go? I hope I'll go. I have no clue what I'll be doing next year that time, but yeah, I would love to go if I have the money and the time and all that and don't have any scheduled conflicts. So yeah.
One of your things. It seems fun to make your fans.
Yay, Sarah. So you can keep asking questions if they arise. And one thing that I kind of felt moved to talk about, so when Ted asked me to talk for this Vegan World Summit, and they sent out the things about, you're welcome, Brianna, thank you. Sent out the info about what the topic would be, and the overall theme was the future of veganism. And so one thing that I started thinking about is not only are you and me the future of veganism, but we are the future of the world, and we are our own future. So people will come in and out of our lives all the time. Situations come in and out of our lives. The point that we're in our lives is never the same, but we will always be here till the end. We are our own future. And I thought, that's pretty cool. Like, who do I want to be living as and with for the rest of my life? Do I want to be someone who lives according to my beliefs? Do I want to be someone who feels good or doesn't feel good, or is compassionate or isn't compassionate? Do I want to be someone who has conflicts with other people or spreads love between other people? And so it was just a cool thing to think about, and it kind of helps to guide me in the present, because I can think about, if I make this choice right now, if I choose A or I choose B, that those choices are going to affect me in the future. Those are choices that I'll have to live with in the future. And we always think about the future and what we want in the future. And we think about, how can I ever get there? But it's really the choices that we make in every single moment that add up to create our future and to create the life that we live. Essentially, it's just built up of one little moment at a time. So I thought that was pretty cool to think about when making choices in the present moment. I can't stand these little earbud things. I've never liked them. But my microphone doesn't work. Anna says, is the Hawaiian Fruit Fest every year? I can only find the website for 2015. As far as I know, it was only a one-time thing. It's not something that's regularly scheduled. Maybe they'll do it again. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it was just a one-time thing. But it was really amazing. But I also heard that the 2015 and 2016 Woodstock Fruit Fests were like the best ever. So I highly, 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 highly suggest signing up for those if you have the opportunity. They were all life-changing. Hang on one second. Went to go lock everybody out of here. We have 1 trillion people living with us because we had massive flooding in Louisiana a couple months ago, and family members flooded out, and we've got my niece and nephew here, and they love YouTube, and they just want to like see what I'm doing and videos and stuff. But anyway, the Woodstock Fruit Festivals are life-changing. I've met some of my best friends there. I now have people that are like family. They're as close as family because of the Woodstock Fruit Festival from all over the world. And that is so precious to me. It really is something that allows me to live the life that I want to live. I want to have people in my life that understand me and that are amazing and fun to connect with. And I found that through the Woodstock Fruit Festival. And so to me, that's priceless. If you're just feeling kind of like you're floundering and you're not really connecting with people who you like can relate to, or if you feel like you need some motivation for the diet and the lifestyle, it's really priceless. I mean, it can just like catapult you off into the right direction. Aw, yeah, I was there. Miss Messy says I was there in 2013. So much fun. Yeah, it was a blast. I don't know if I met you, but I wish I did if I didn't. So, let me check down here. No questions there. The people who wanted to know about gardening, do you have any specific questions on gardening? I mean, I can answer any gardening questions that you'd like. I'm trying to think of what else I can say on a video, just showing you without, I mean, just talking to you without actually showing you. Oh, got it. So there are things that you can, good question, Brianna. There's things that you can regrow that you use. So if you have lettuce, especially the lettuce, if you get like the lettuce that still has the roots on it, you can just plant that again. But if you have lettuce that just has like the base on it, if it has enough of that down there, you can stick that in the soil, like in a pot, and it'll regrow from the middle. Also, same thing with green onions. Green onions will grow really, really well. Green onions will grow really well. And basically, so the bottom part of the green onion is white down here, and then it has some little roots. So I usually save about this much of the green onion, maybe like 3 to 4 inches, and then plant them with just the top sticking out, and they'll regrow. I mean, they'll grow like inches in a week. And you can do the same thing with celery sometimes. And just like the lettuce, it'll just regrow from the center. It'll only usually grow for so long, but the green onions, like I have some out on my deck right now that I've been having for a year probably, that I bought from the store and put in the ground. How do you start a compost? So there's a lot of different ways to start a compost. What I do is I guess the simplest way is just to throw everything, all of your scraps in a pile, and eventually they'll compost. But that can take a while. So the main thing with composting is to keep the proper balance. I like to think of it as wet and dry. It's actually nitrogen, I believe, for the wet stuff and carbon for the dry stuff. But if you just think of it as wet and dry, it works out. So the wet stuff is all the stuff that's coming from your kitchen, all the juicy scraps from your fruits and veggies. And then dry stuff is anything that's brown and dead. So dead grass clippings that have dried out, or dried leaves, which is what we usually use. You can also use things like wood chips, newspaper some people use, but I've never done that. So what you do, if you have a place where you can actually start a pile on the ground, I usually lay out some sticks, and that just helps to keep it aerated. So the two things, you want to keep the balance between wet and dry, and then you also want to keep air in your pile. So if there's no air in your pile, if it gets like all squishy and wet and sloppy, then it will go into, it will become anaerobic, which means it just gets stinky and nasty. But if it's aerated, it will stay nice and fluffy and won't stink, and it'll compost more quickly. So I lay sticks out on the bottom, and that allows a little bit of airflow. And then on top of that, I put some dead leaves. So what we usually do this time of year, we just go right around and we pick up bags of leaves from people's, like where they put them at the road to be picked up by the trash, by the garbage truck. So that way they're all collected for us, and we just make a big pile of our leaf bags, and then when we need it, we put it on our compost. So you have sticks, dried leaves, and then we cover that with scraps from our kitchen. And then once the scraps from our kitchen make a layer, then we'll put another bag of dried leaves, cover that with scraps from our kitchen, dried leaves. We're not that good about turning our compost. You should probably, like, the more often you turn it, the better. So you just like stick a shovel or a pitchfork in there and stir it all up to help air get in there. We do it not that often. We do it when we think about it and when we have the time, and it works out fine. And then what you have to do in order to get finished compost is stop adding to that one pile and then start another pile. Because if you're constantly adding fresh scraps to the pile, you're never going to have a pile without fresh scraps in it. So you have to let it sit and let it compost, do its thing, and you can start another pile. And then by the time that one's done, you can use the first one and start making another pile there, or make a third pile. And you know that it's done when you dig into it and there's no more recognizable scraps. So you might have an avocado pit or a mango pit or some kind of tough skin like durian or something like that, but you won't have any more like of the soft fruit. So when I pull the leaves off the top of my compost pile that's finished, I can do like this and it's like dirt. And I just did that to one of our compost piles a couple days ago, and there were like 20 worms in there, which is amazing. Yeah, and so that's it. You can basically use that in your garden. You can use that in pots. And what I do, if I'm going to use it in a pot, I have a little screen that I've created. So I made, you can buy, I think they call it hardware cloth at the hardware store. And it's basically like, it's a screen, but it's like it's a grid like this. There's, you know, holes in it, like maybe that big, like 1/2-inch holes. And so I built a wood frame around that. And so I put compost on top of it, and then I hold it over the wheelbarrow and shake it side to side, and all the small pieces fall through. And then you have a nice fine compost mixture to use in your garden or in your pots. Okay, so I'll give you a few, if nobody has any other questions, I have a few different topics that I can talk about. If you have questions, of course, you can keep asking. We can talk about, so some things that people like to talk about. I don't shave or wear makeup, or what else don't I do? I don't wear a bra. People like those topics always. Can talk about fitness a little bit, can talk about more if you want to talk about like social situations or succeeding on a raw diet, if you have questions about that. Maybe how to go raw or how to go vegan, if you've got questions about that, because I've done it about 573 times. Let's see, what else can we talk about? I love book recommendation, anything by Pema Chodron. I'm a yoga teacher and I'm into yoga, and I'm really into being present and creating the life that you want and enjoying your life as it is in the moment and finding something to enjoy in every moment. And by the way, I just reminded myself to fully enjoy this moment. And so I want to thank everybody who's here. This has been really fun. So maybe I'll start doing some live stuff on YouTube. But honestly, thank you. Like, Thank you. Which form of yoga do you teach? So I did a teacher training in 2010 with a guy named Doug Swenson, and he learned in Ashtanga, and he was a student of Patabi Joyce. And so he did Ashtanga, but he at some point kind of veered from the really regimented routine of Ashtanga and kind of created some flows in and out of things. So it's similar, what I learned in was similar to Ashtanga, but a little bit more intuitive. There's kind of like flowy Tai Chi type things in and out of poses, and some poses added into the Ashtanga routine that just feel good there. So like a vinyasa power yoga. But and that's what I was really into when I first got into yoga. And when I first started teaching, I wanted to go hard. I wanted to sweat. I wanted to go fast. I wanted a challenge physically. And I still absolutely love that. But the more I was teaching, the more I realized that you can't teach that to most classes. And most classes, to be safe, you have to start slowly, and you have to build a foundation before you can go fast and hard without creating the potential for injury. So, and also what I learned is that most of us, including myself, are so stimulated and active throughout the day that we benefit most, or I do, and I saw that my students benefited most from a quiet, slow, relaxing practice. And so I really enjoy that. And even my more powerful classes that I teach now, I incorporate some slower relaxation type stuff at the end. My base is vinyasa, but I do like a slow flow vinyasa sometimes. I also teach yin classes, which is really, really slow. Everything's on the mat pretty much. And you might hold the pose for 5 minutes, and you really, really slow down your deep breathing. You close your eyes the whole time. It's just all about slowing down and getting some really deep stretches into your connective tissues. And then I absolutely love Anusara yoga. I've never done a training in it. I would like to, but I've done some workshops and classes, and it's all about, physically, it's all about alignment. So in yoga, this is how it's done in yoga, and this is how it's supposed to be done, but it's not necessarily what's best anatomically and physiologically for the body. So Ashtanga kind of looks at the body and thinks, how is the body actually supposed to move? And I really, really like that, like proper alignment and movement. So I incorporate a lot of that into my classes. Wow, I think there's 196 people here. Oh no, 196 registered. Let's see who's actually here. I don't know. I don't know how to find that. Yeah, so let's see, what can we talk about? I would love to ask you questions, but I don't know. Oh, someone just popped up. Okay. Does anybody want to hear about, let's see. Ooh, how about I share some good quotes with you? I'm reading this book that's really, really good. It's called The Sacred Journey of the Peaceful Warrior. It's like a sequel to The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, which I absolutely recommend. And I recently took some pictures of quotes. And do you know how when you're reading a book and you're reading it at a certain time in your life, and you're like, I am supposed to be reading this book at this very moment? That's how this book has been for me. So I'll read you a few quotes from that book that I took pictures of. The first one, let me turn my brightness down so my phone doesn't die. The first one is, what is to give light must endure burning, which I really, really liked. And I really like that analogy. Like, this probably isn't true for everyone, but for me, like, I've had to go through the cleansing fires to get to where I am. And I'm sure in the future there will be many more cleansing fires. And it can suck when we're going through that. But I think eventually when we come out of it, we can look back and say, thank you. I'm glad that that happened. Let's see. A ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for. That's a good one. Do you stay where you're safe and comfortable, or do you set sail into the unknown, which can be freaking scary? This is a really good one. Like, gives me chills good. The important thing is this: to be ready at any moment to sacrifice what you are for what you could become. That kind of goes along with the ship being safe in harbor. Like, are you willing to give up who you are as a human and who you identify as and the people that you identify with to find out what you can become and what your potential is? That was really powerful to me. Oh, this one's really cool. What if you slept? And what if in your sleep you dreamed? And what if in your dream you went to heaven and there you plucked a strange and beautiful flower? And what if when you awake you had the flower in your hand? Oh, what then? That's a good one. Let's see what else. Okay, this is a so in this book that my zodiac sign. Thanks for the question, Sarah. My zodiac sign is Capricorn, and I am really Capricornious or whatever. I'm really Capricorny. Oh, that's funny. I'm actually corny too. I love dad jokes. But yeah, I'm Capricorn, and I'm like, all my stuff is like earth signs, and I'm grounded to a fault sometimes. Yeah, if you have any question, like, I just want to, we have like 10 minutes left, and I just want to let you know that I'm a completely open book. So if you have any questions that you're maybe a little bit uncomfortable about asking, feel free to ask. The worst thing that I can say is, no, I'm not comfortable asking that, but I honestly can't think of a question that I'm not comfortable asking. So if you have anything like that, feel free to ask. This is a quote from the same book I was telling you about. It's basically this guy that's on a spiritual journey, and one of his teachers in the book says, in the darkest, most chaotic times, when things fall apart, such things often mark quickening as your mind readies itself to make a leap. When you feel like you're going nowhere, stagnating, even slipping backward, your soul is only backing up to get a running start. And I thought that was a really cool way to look at things, because, you know, we can even apply it to becoming vegan or raw vegan. And sometimes, you know, we feel like we're getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden we just completely blow it, and we start questioning why we're doing what we're doing and whether or not we're ever going to be able to succeed at what we're doing. And I think anybody who is successful at anything will tell you that success is not just like a steady upward climb. You know, it's all over the place, and it's filled with little mini failures all along the way. So that was really cool to me to kind of put that perspective in my mind. Like, if I fail at something, that doesn't mean that I'm failing at it completely. It can just be like one little hiccup kind of thing. Yeah, and then you keep going on that upward trend. 10 minutes left. So we have a few more questions. We have time for a few more questions. My favorite raw vegan meal. So thank you, Sarah, for all your questions. You're giving me something to talk about. Do you want to know just in general what my absolute favorite meal is, or like my favorite prepared meal, like recipe kind of thing? Both. Okay. Well, my favorite meal, I would say probably it depends on what time of year it is. Like right now, my absolute favorite meal is mangoes. If we had enough ripe mangoes for me to just eat mangoes, I would just voluntarily do that because I love them so much. Like, I just can't get enough. Like I said, I've got a box of amazing papayas that are about to go bad because I can't stop eating mangoes, but I'm going to have to eat them tomorrow because I've eaten all the ripe mangoes. So right now it's mangoes. In the summertime, we get some amazing local watermelons that are like this big. And they are so good. And I just eat watermelons all summer long. But I would have to say my favorite prepared meal is tomango. That's what I call it. It's just tomatoes and mangoes blended together. So I'll blend grape tomatoes with mangoes, and I might just dip romaine lettuce in that, or I might pour it over cucumber noodles, or I might eat it as a soup with some chopped up cucumbers and tomatoes on top. Dip celery in it. Make a more complex soup with peppers and tomatoes and corn and cucumbers and celery all mixed into it. It's to die for. Every time I make it and I taste it, it's like, it's better than I thought it was going to be. I just take a sip or like a spoonful. It's like, oh yes, this is so good. So grape tomatoes, really good grape tomatoes, little flavorful pops of deliciousness. Blended with mangoes. My favorite mango to blend in that is a toffee mango because they have kind of a savory flavor. You can put avocado in there, which just like takes it way up to the next level. And yeah, so that would have to be the thing that I make the most, and one of my favorites. I have so many things that I love. I mean, I am in love with every meal that I make. Banana ice cream is really, really good. Yeah, lots of stuff. I like making wraps too, like lettuce wraps with tomato, mango, avocado. Some of my favorite things just mixed up in any kind of way. Besides growing your own, do you have tips on getting produce cheaper? Awesome question. Pecan pie looks great. Thank you. I highly suggest that you make it. It's so good. And as a matter of fact, I'm like trying to stop myself from making it for the holidays because I really want to save it as like a special holiday thing. Besides growing your own, do you have tips on getting produce cheaper? Yes. If you have a wholesaler in your area, you can go to the wholesaler. I would just go there and talk to them. If you talk to them on the phone, they might tell you that you have to have like a business. But if you go there in person and tell them like the amount of produce that you want to buy, they might just have a minimum that you have to meet. So you can do that. I do not have a decent wholesaler in my area. They carry like organic bananas and greens and nothing else organic really. The stores that get organic here, a lot of them get it like straight from the distributor. And so what I do, I shop at Costco, which I really like. I don't like shopping the fact that it's Costco and it's a huge company. They do treat their workers really well, which I like, and they pay them really well, which is better than like shopping at Walmart or Sam's or something like that. But obviously, I would rather shop at locally owned places, but just for price sake, I shop at Costco. They have organic berries and bananas and all kind of organic stuff. They have organic mangoes, green, stuff like that, and organic grapes, which are way cheaper than everywhere else. So I shop there. I shop at the local Asian market. That's where I get all my mangoes. And I am there every week, and I've gotten to know the owners really well. That's a local place, and they know that I want ripe fruit. So every time I go in there, the little Asian grandmother that they is part of their family that owns the place, she runs to the back and gathers up all the ripe mangoes and brings them out. And a lot of time I get 1 or 2 or 3 cases for free because it's stuff that's going bad, and they know how much that we're buying from them. I also go to the Mexican supermarket and get my papayas and a couple other things there. And then I have connections with some local people. Like, for example, I have Joshua, who's my watermelon man. I just met him this year, and I am so excited about it. He has these massive watermelons. I mean, literally, they're like huge. They're like this big around. And he has my phone number. He sells me $5 massive watermelons that are the best watermelons I've ever tasted. And he knows that I'll buy a lot. So at the end of the day, if he's got extra watermelons, he calls me up. He's like, hey, I got all these watermelons. You want some? And so I go. What he does, and a lot of people do around here, is they go to a farm and they fill the back of their truck up with watermelon, and then they go park on the side of the road somewhere and sell the watermelon. And so that's what he does. And yeah, just shopping around and making different connections and get to know like the produce manager and let them know that you want to buy ripe fruit, what they call like going bad fruit. And a lot of times they'll give you discounts. Also ask for case discounts, even just at like a regular grocery store. If you want to buy a case, a lot of times they'll give you like a 10% discount. Yeah, so we just have 3 more minutes left. If anybody has one more quick question, you can ask. If not, we can go ahead and wrap it up. And I really do want to say thank you for everyone for being here. If you were looking forward to my other talks, the first 2 weeks, I apologize that I did not make it. I didn't have internet connection in Costa Rica. And then last week, I just randomly wasn't feeling well. I had like an allergy thing. But thank you for being here this week, and I will be back next week. And yeah, if you have any other questions for me or want to stay in touch, I would love to stay in touch with all of you. You can find me on Facebook under just my full name. And yeah, Instagram, Southern Fruity. My YouTube is my full name. So yeah, stay in touch. Keep the good vibes going. And thanks for watching. Bye.